Greetings, fellow Whovians. Well, let's continue on by looking with the trial and error as we look at, or actually me, I should say, the enemy of the world. Here we go. The Doctor, Jamie, and Victoria are enjoying themselves on a beach in Australia in 2018 while the Doctor is subject to an assassination attempt. The controller of the would-be assassins, an agent named Astrid Ferrier, rescues them by helicopter. She takes them to her boss Giles Kent. There they learn that the Doctor is the physical double of Salamander, a ruthless megalomaniac who is dominating the United Zones organization. Salamander has ascended to power by concentrating and harnessing the sun's rays to generate more crops, but the sun is increasing his power. Kent, who was once Deputy Secretary Leader for North Africa and Europe, reveals that he had crossed Salamander, who ruined him and removed his various allies. The only remaining Kent ally within any authority is Alexander Dennis in Central Europe. When Kent's home is surrounded by troops led by Security Chief Donald Bruce, the Doctor is persuaded to impersonate Salamander to save his companions and to gather more information on his designs. Bruce is a bully who intimidates those in his path, but the Doctor's impersonation is strong enough to persuade him that he is Salamander, even though the real Salamander is supposed to be at a conference in the Central European Zone. Bruce leaves, albeit with suspicion, but the Doctor turns on Kent, realizing he called Bruce there himself to test the impersonation. The Doctor is not yet convinced Salamander is the villain, but Kent presses ahead with a plan. Jamie, Victoria, and Astrid are to infiltrate Salamander's retinue while he's still in the Central European Zone, via Dennis's support, and gather evidence on Salamander. Meanwhile, Kent and the Doctor will travel to Salamander's research station in Kanoa to gather intelligence there. Good plan. The real Salamander warns that a dormant volcano in Hungary is about to explode. Dennis does not believe this is possible and resists the calls to send preemptive relief. Jamie, Victoria, and Astrid have by now reached the Central European Zone. Jamie tries to infiltrate Salamander's retinue, while Astrid contacts Dennis for a meeting. Jamie manages to get himself promoted to Salamander's personal staff by preventing a bogus attempt on the leader's life, and also ensures Victoria is given a position as assistant to Salamander's personal chef. When Astrid meets Dennis, she tells him of the two spies who have entered the leader's staff. Salamander now works on Dennis's deputy, Federin, to turn him against Dennis. Federin is a weak man who gives in to Salamander's blackmail easily, but is scared when he hears the prediction that Dennis will soon be killed and Salamander will be asked to take over the zone following the imminent natural disaster. On cue, an earthquake begins as the promised volcanic eruption starts. Donald Bruce arrives but is unable to mention the Salamander in Australia issues before Dennis returns to the palace too, blaming Salamander for somehow engineering the volcano. Salamander responds by saying Dennis failed to heed his warnings on the volcanoes and is thus negligent and must be removed from office. Dennis is arrested and Salamander now tells Federin to poison him before he can be brought to trial and repeat his allegations. When Federin fails to do so, Salamander uses the poison on him instead. Dun dun dun. Donald Bruce has meanwhile started to have serious suspicions about the situation. He evidently does not trust Salamander, and then tries unsuccessfully to get Jamie to explain the Australia incident. Another man with suspicions is Theodore Bennick, Salamander's unpleasant deputy, who has heard from Bruce that Salamander was supposed to be in two places at one time. He visits and intimidates Giles Kent, but the Doctor stays hidden while the unsolicited visitor is there destroying Kent's property. Ugh. Jamie and Victoria meanwhile use their new roles in the palace to get closer to Faria, Salamander's food taster, hoping to gather information on the leader's intentions. Jamie also causes a diversion to try to facilitate a rescue attempt on Dennis by Astrid. However, things fall apart and Dennis is shot dead. Though Astrid escapes, Jamie and Victoria are arrested. This prompts Bruce to ask Salamander in private about his relationship with Jamie and his presence with him and Kent in Australia, which prompts Salamander to decide to return to Kano immediately and unmask the impersonator. Astrid returns to Australia too and contacts the Doctor and Kent to tell them of the outcome of the botched rescue attempt. Faria has followed Astrid and makes contact with her, Kent and the Doctor, telling them that Jamie and Victoria have been brought as prisoners to the Kanoa Research Center. Faria also hands over the file made by Salamander to blackmail Federin, which finally convinces the Doctor of Salamander's evil. However, before they can react, the building is raided by Bennick and his troops, and Faria is killed and the file recovered. The others escape. Whew! Salamander, Bennick, and Bruce meet at the center and realize the severity of the situation. When he is alone, Salamander dons a radiation suit and enters a secret lift, which transports him to a secret bunker. At the bunker are a group of people who believe Salamander has just ventured to the surface of the allegedly irradiated planet to look for food. He claims to have found a safe new food stock to sustain them after their 5 years below ground. He also urges them to continue fighting the war against the surface by using technology to create natural disasters. Most of the people accept this but one, Colin, urges Salamander to take him to the surface the next time, even though no one who has accompanied Salamander there has ever returned. When the Doctor and his friends returns to Kent's caravan, they are soon discovered by Donald Bruce, who has traced their car. Bruce affirms he is a servant of the world government, not Salamander, and shows he can't be persuaded that Leader is, in Astrid's words, a traitor, blackmailer, and murderer. The Doctor and Bruce reach a deal. They will travel to the research center where the Doctor will impersonate Salamander to gain more evidence, while Kent and Astrid are kept under guard. But if no evidence is found, they will all be arrested for conspiracy. Bruce and the Doctor leave, and shortly afterward, Kent and Astrid escape are captured by means of a ruse. In this shelter, the new promised food has arrived, and the people unpack it. However, one of them, Swan, finds a stray newspaper clipping and realizes there is no more life on the surface, rather than the continuing nuclear war they had all been told. He confronts Salamander, and agrees to take him to the surface to show him the world is now full of hideous, depraved mutants, and their actions in causing natural disasters are helping to wipe them out. Swan isn't moved, but agrees to go to the surface without revealing his concerns. This incenses Colin, a young man whose request to go to the surface had been denied. Bennett begins to interrogate Jamie and Victoria. Bruce and the Doctor, acting as Salamander, interrupt him and send him away. The Doctor, pretending to be Salamander, crushes his companions, and the result further convinces Bruce to trust the Doctor. In the grounds of the research center, Astrid finds Swan. He has been bludgeoned by Salamander. Before he dies, he tells Astrid about his friends in the bunker. She hurries to them and is attacked by the frightened people, but Colin stops them. Astrid tells them there is no war, and convinces them of Salamander's treachery. Yay! Meanwhile, Bennett, suspicious, speaks to and discovers the guard at the records room as if to see Salamander emerge. He returns to Bruce and the others, asks for Salamander's signatures on papers, and leaves. The papers show discrepancy in how much food is needed for personnel and how much is coming in. Bruce and the Doctor have Jamie and Victoria released from the center, and the Doctor instructs them to head back to the TARDIS and wait for him there. He heads off alone and accesses the records room, where he impersonates Salamander. A visitor soon arrives, Giles Kent, who has the key to the secret room. In the ensuing conversation with Salamander, he reveals his true nature. The arrival of Astrid, Colin, and Mary further incriminate Kent, for it was he who took the people down to the bunker in the first place for an endurance test. Kent and Salamander were allies all along, and the Doctor reveals he had been slow to support Kent because he feared he was being used to topple Salamander for Kent to take over. Kent flees into the cave system beyond the records room after they learn the tunnel is planted with explosives. Donald Bruce tries to break into the records room to help the Doctor. Bennett causes trouble and Bruce has him arrested. Kent encourages Salamander in the tunnels and they argue. Salamander fatally wounds his one-time ally. As he dies, Kent throws a switch blowing up the cave system, causing damage and injury to the station above. Fortunately, the people in the bunker survive and Astrid leaves to rescue them. Salamander, shaken and bleeding from the explosion, approaches the TARDIS where Jamie and Victoria wait. They're mistaken for the Doctor. Pretending to be shaken, Salamander asks Jamie to use the controls for him. Jamie's suspicions are proved correct when the real Doctor arrives. There is a struggle, and Salamander uses the controls of the TARDIS. Spinning it out of control, the door is still wide open. Salamander is blown out of the TARDIS and into the vortex. The Doctor, Jamie, and Victoria then hang on to dear life as they try to prevent the same fate from happening to them. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. So anyway, let's look at some continuity and production elements of the story. In episode 2, the Doctor says, "Disused Yeti," after mishearing Astrid's comments about a disused jetty. This refers to his experience with the Yeti and the Abominable Snowman. A single shot of both Jamie and Victoria from this story is used when the characters are seen, along with a number of other companions, as the dogs attempt to scan the Fifth Doctor's mind in the resurrection of the Daleks. This was last story to be produced under the aegis of Doctor Who creator Sidney Newman, left his position as head of drama at the BBC upon the expiration of his contract at the end of 1967. The 4 key production roles for this story were all taken by men heavily involved in the development of Doctor Who. Author David Whitaker had been the show's first script editor. Barry Letts, directing the show for the first time, later became the show's producer for the majority of the John Pertwee era, executive producer, and occasional script editor. Script editor Peter Bryan became the show's producer for the next story. Insulated was the show's current producer, but left after this story. Much like the first Doctor serial, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, this serial was influenced by the lead actor's desire to play roles other than the Doctor. Initially, it was planned that Troughton's 2 characters would meet more than once. Due to the technical complexity, there was eventually only the one confrontation scene at the story's climax, utilizing editing and a split-screen technique. Barry Letts planned 6 split-screen shots. He called for a matte box to mask half of the camera lens, having read about the technique used for old Hollywood films. The film was later rewound after the first take, and Troughton was then filmed in his other costume. Excuse me. However, after the first such shot, the camera jammed, and no more split-screen takes were filmed. Later, Letts mentioned this to Derek Martinez, director of the preceding story, who brought Letts up to date with the contemporary technology of filming normally, then using an optical printer to combine the material. Due to British Television's shift from 405 line technology to 625 line, in preparation for color transmissions, going into effect for all BBC shows from January 1st, 1968, it was long believed that the switchover for Doctor Who from 405 lines to 625 came as of episode 3 of this serial. However, upon the recovery of the other 5 episodes of this serial, it was discovered that episodes 1 and 2 were too high quality to be 405 line broadcasts, and so therefore must have been made as 625 lines prior to the official switchover. The now disproved notion of the switchover occurring at episode 3 was likely due to an error in documentation. Originally, episode 3 was the only episode of the story to survive in the BBC archives. On October 11, 2013, the BBC announced that the 5 remaining episodes had been recovered from television relay station storage room in Nigeria, following such efforts by Television International Enterprise Archive and Philip Morris, making the serial complete in the BBC television archives for the first time since the mass junkets of Doctor Who episodes between 1972 and 1978. It was subsequently released for download at midnight. Wow. Fraser Hines and Deborah Watling did not appear in episode 4 as they were on holiday. This serial, which is set in the fictional future Australasian zone, is also notable for the casting of real-life Australian actors, Reg Light, David Nedheim, and Bill Kerr. Kerr was well known to British audiences for his long-running role as Tony Hancock's Australian housemate in the original radio version of Hancock's Half Hour. Welton Jones later appeared as Guy Crawford in The Android Invasion, and Castellan Kellner in The Invasion of Time. Colin Douglas later played Reuben in the horror Fang Rock. George Pravada later played Jaeger in The Mutants, and Castellan Spandrel in The Deadly Assassin. Troughton's son David Troughton makes his first Doctor Who appearance as an uncredited extra. His later appearances in the series would be The War Games as Private Moore, The Curse of Peladon as King Peladon, and finally Midnight as Professor Hobbs in the revived series. Christopher Burgess also appeared as Professor George Phillips in Terror of the Autons, and Barnes in Planet of the Spiders. Andrew Staines also appeared in Terror of the Autons, Carnival of Monsters, and Planet of the Spiders. So yeah, some pretty interesting stuff with this story, and hey, it's another time we get to see the Doctor and someone who looks like him in the same story. So, overall, I give The Animated World 5 sonic screwdrivers out of 5. Well, join me next week as we find out what happens when TARDIS crew gets entangled in the Web of Fear. So, until then, this is Hoovy and Queen saying, "Oh my giddy aunt, when I say run, run, I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow. Would you like a jelly baby? Fantastic! Allons-y, Geronimo!" Bow ties are cool, fezzes are cool, and Stetsons are cool.